friends, my name is Professor Sonal Gogri. I am from Faculty of Business Administration, GLS BBA, GLS University. We have already started with introduction to service marketing, and today we shall be talking about service quality, its meaning, components and dimensions of service quality. Now, what do you understand by the term service quality? Quality means what? It is basically a performance of the product, right? Similarly, the performance of the service is the quality of that service. Now, how do you define the quality of the service? For that, we shall be talking today about its components and dimensions of how the quality of the service can be measured. So, let us first understand the meaning of quality. Quality means the degree of excellence in service performance. Consumers perceive the quality of a service by experiencing the process. See, for example, if it is a product, we experience the product. The product, let's say this is the pen, it is in my hands, I can see it, I can touch it, I can feel the design, I can, understand its quality. So, measuring the quality of a product is quite simpler. But when it comes to services, here the customers perceive the quality of service, how the service performed. So, consumers perceive the quality of a service by experiencing the consumption process and comparing the experience with their expectations. What are they doing? They are comparing experience with expectations. You might have some expectations of the services. Let's say you're going to some hotel or some resort. You might have some expectations कि कैसे आपको सर्व किया जाएगा, रूम कैसा होगा, व्यू कैसा होगा. There are some expectations. And then what you receive, right? And then there is a difference in it. If the experience ranges above the expectation, then the quality is said to be of a very superior from the consumer's perspective, right? So here when you're talking about service quality, we always understand customers' perception of the quality. Quality is related to cost, profitability, customer satisfaction, customer relation, behavior intention, and positive word of mouth. We define service quality from the user's perspective as a high standard of performance that consistently meets or exceeds customer expectations. That means if the perception of the customer exceeds the expectations of the customer, then the quality of the service is said to be of a high performance, right? Parsuraman, V.A. Zithamal and L.L. Berry defined service quality as the degree and direction of discrepancy between consumer perceptions and expectations in terms of different but relatively important dimensions of the service quality which can affect their future purchasing behavior. Again, let us understand clearly what is service quality in a layman's term. Customer satisfaction with the service can be defined by comparing perceptions of service related with the expectations of service desired. तो अगर expectations बढ़ गई, right, तो क्या होगा? Customers will be happy. When expectations are exceeded, service is perceived to be of exceptional quality and also to be a pleasant surprise. When expectations are not met, the service quality is deemed unacceptable. You thought of something, you expected as a customer कि ये मिलना चाहिए, वो नहीं मिला, then you will be dissatisfied. When expectations are confirmed by the service quality, then the quality is satisfactory. Whatever you thought you received, it is satisfactory. What you thought उससे भी ज़्यादा मिला, then it is pleasant, right? I hope this is clear now. Expectations exceed हुआ, तो pleasant experience. Expectations not met by the service quality, then the quality is unacceptable. And when the expectations are confirmed by by the service delivery, then the service quality is satisfactory. So now let us understand कि expectations बनते कैसे हैं, right? Yeah, how do you actually define the quality of a service? So let us understand the dimensions, that is components of service quality. When we look at service quality dimensions, customers usually judge the quality using these 5 dimensions: reliability, empathy, responsiveness, tangibles, and assurance. Now, what are these exactly? Let us read each of these in detail and understand with examples. First, reliability. Reliability means how much Can you depend on the service? Right? So it is dependable and actual performance. The ability to perform the promised service both dependably and accurately. Whatever you promised, you got. That is the ability to perform the promised service both dependably and accurately. Reliable service performance is a customer expectation and means that the service is accomplished on time, in the same manner and without errors every time. So you are getting the service in time and without errors. मतलब mistakes minimum है, time पे आपको मिल रहा है. That means ये service पे आप rely कर सकते हो. You can depend on it. Reliability also extends into the back office where accuracy in billing and record keeping is expected. So where do you normally see reliability? Generally in back office. Let's see the examples. For example, receiving mail at approximately the same time each day is important to most people. You know, offices mein there are fixed timings of email. You normally receive emails early in the mornings from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. or so, right? So that you can plan the work accordingly, and by the end of the day, before 6 p.m. you need to send emails. Those are certain email etiquettes that you cannot send someone an email at night 12 a.m. and expect them to reply early in the morning next day at 7 or 10 p.m. a.m. right? So there have to be fixed timings of email. Similarly, billing, whether they are free of errors. Is my telephone bill free of errors? Do I have to check every time कि bill ठीक से आया कि नहीं, right? Is my TV repaired right at the first time? You're giving for some repair services और वो time पे repair हुआ, errors के बिना ठीक से हुआ, you then tend to depend on that service, right? So I hope this reliability criteria is clear. This is an important dimension for any service provider. Any service provider who is giving services like repairs, like billing work, office work, record keeping work, they need to ensure that their work is accurate and in time. Then only people would depend on them. Second is responsiveness. Responsiveness, how promptly you are responding to the customer's queries. Customers might come across some problems. How responsive you are and helping them in solving their problems. So it is basically promptness and helpfulness. The willingness to help customers and to provide prompt service. Keeping customers waiting, particularly for no apparent reason, creates unnecessary negative perceptions of quality. If a service failure occurs, the ability to recover quickly and with professionalism can create very positive perception of quality, right? So अगर कुछ problem हुआ, if there is a failure in service, कितना quickly आपने उसको respond किया, that talks about a good quality service. We all come across a lot of problems. Let's say suddenly your mobile network has gone or your television network has gone, and we tend to call the service provider. Let's say you are using Tata Sky and you called Tata Sky helpline. How promptly they reply, right? How quickly they solve your problem. If they do it very nicely, promptly, helpful mind, then definitely we would use that product more, and we are even willing to pay premium to their services, right? So this is an important criteria, responsiveness. Service industry is full of people and the process. So how people are responding to the queries, to the problems of the customer talks about its quality of the service. For example, serving complimentary drinks on a delayed flight can turn a potentially poor customer experience into one that is remembered favorably, right? If the flight has been delayed, at least the flight can provide complimentary drinks or complimentary snacks. That could reimburse a bitterness which a customer might have faced. Is the cable TV company willing to give me a specific time when the installer will show up? So these are what we call how the company or how the service personnel replies promptly and how helpful they are in solving the problem of the customers. Third is assurance. Now assurance is very important, right? It is basically giving a promise that not to worry, you are safe with us, we are competent enough, we have skills, we will help you, right? You can trust us. So all that is assurance, which talks about credibility, security, competence and courtesy. The knowledge and courtesy of employees as well as their ability to convey trust and confidence. So basically you want everything. आप जिससे सर्विस ले रहे हो वो knowledgeable है या नहीं. Just a small example, let's say you are going for a haircut. आप ऐसे ही किसी के साथ हेयर कट नहीं करवाओगे, राइट? यू लव योर हेयर, so what do? You go to a specialist who understands, who has that skills of cutting hair in a right manner. So that is knowledge, that is skills. If the person is skillful, then only we'll go. A doctor, if he is knowledgeable, right? We measure the doctor, कितनी successful surgeries की, कितने ज़्यादा उनके consultants होते हैं. That talks about how much you can trust that doctor, because that gives you confidence that yes, if I go to this doctor, I'll be all right. Right? So the assurance dimension includes following features. First is competence to perform the service, politeness and respect for the customer, effective communication with the customer, and general attitude that the server has the customer's best interests at heart. Let's take examples. Credibility. Does the hospital have a good reputation? Security. Is it safe for me to use the ATM's bank at night? Competence. Does the dentist appear to be competent? And courtesy. Does the plumber take off muddy shoes before stepping on my carpet? Right? Now you can see all these are little things which are very important from customer's point of view. Let's take an example. Urban company. This is an example of urban company. It talks about all these criterias of assurance. Right? You can see that this is a post-COVID advertisement poster of urban company, and the service provider is wearing a mask saying that okay, you can trust that person, right? It's keeping things neat and tidy and hygienic, plus the person is skillful in performing the services, so you can trust them. The person is safe or secure if you allow them to come to your house, you don't have to worry. So there is a security criteria too. Competence is there, and courtesy, right? All these things are very important, and one of the reasons why urban company talks a lot on assurance. It is probably their unique point where they can show their competency. Next dimension is empathy. Empathy is how you understand the customers, right? Are you able to understand from customers' perspective? Do you able to give them services based on their expectations? That is empathy. It talks on easy access, good communication, and customer understanding. The provision of caring, individualized attention to customers. Empathy includes the following features: approachability, sensitivity, and effort to understand the customer's needs. One example of empathy is the ability of the airline gate attendant to make a customer's missed connection the attendant's own problem and to find a solution. Right? You need to find out the solution, how you understand the customer is right now in some problem and we are here to solve your problems. That talks about empathy. When I have a complaint, is the manager willing to listen to me? Does anyone in the hotel recognize me as a regular guest? Does my doctor avoid using technical jargon? All these are a part of empathy. How nicely they communicate with us and how properly they understand us. I mean, service providers understand their consumers. And the last dimension is tangibles. Tangibles is appearance of physical elements, similar to physical evidence, the 7th P of services mix. The appearance of physical facilities, equipments, personnel, and communication materials. The condition of the physical surroundings, that is the cleanliness, is a tangible evidence of the care and attention to detail that are exhibited by the service provider. Cleanliness, though it's a very small thing, but for services, it's a very important thing. Cleanliness, hygiene, if things are neat, tidy, clean, hygiene, it talks about how much they care, not only for themselves or not only for customers, but overall society. This assessment dimension can also extend to the conduct of other customers in the service. Example, a noisy guest in the next room at a hotel. Are the hotel's facilities attractive? Is my accountant dressed properly? Is the bank statement easy to understand? So all these are tangibles, right? So I hope these 5 dimensions of how customer measures the service quality are clear. Customers measure service quality by understanding whether you can rely on those services, reliability, empathy, responsiveness, assurance, and tangibles. These are major 5 dimensions, but apart from that, there are other components of service quality too which can be measured, which includes care and concern, spontaneity. These are all dimensions from the customer's perspective, whether the service provider is able to give or not. So whether the service provider is able to take care for their customers and showing some concern for the customers, how spontaneous they are in solving the customer's problems, that is similar to responsiveness. Problem solving is also similar to responsiveness. Service recovery, professionalism and skills, reliability, trustworthiness, attitude and the behavior, accessibility and flexibility, reputation and credibility. There are all these other components also, but more or less they have all been covered in the major 5 dimensions, which is reliability, empathy, responsiveness, assurance and tangibles. Now, why do we learn these 5 dimensions? To understand whether what services as a marketer I am providing, as a marketer मैं क्या services दे रही हूँ और सामने customers क्या service ले रहे हैं, right? क्या customers मेरी services पे rely करते हैं? Am I able to respond to their queries, right? So now what I am giving, delivering and what they are getting, there could be some gap. Because as we know, quality is all in mind. Service quality is nothing but it is perceived quality of customers based on their expectations. Whatever they thought, am I able to deliver it? How would I know customers kya soch rahe hai, right? So that means there is some gap. So it is important we find out that gap and try to fill in using these 5 dimensions of quality. So customers use these 5 dimensions to form their judgments of service quality. They form judgment ki quality अच्छी है नहीं है whatever, which are based on a comparison between expected and perceived. Now the point is what did they expect and what did they get? What they get is what I give, right, as a service provider. But उन्होंने क्या सोचा था और मैंने क्या दिया? Is there a gap between it? If there is a gap, we need to find out those gaps and try to fill in, right? And try to fill in the gap so that there is least gap possible and the customers are always delighted with the service. So the gap between expected and perceived service is a measure of service quality. Satisfaction could be either negative or positive. We shall be doing a gap model in detail in the next class. So now let us understand the overall service quality. We took 5 dimensions. The dimensions of service quality included reliability, responsiveness, assurance, empathy and tangibles, right? इसके basis पे customers क्या कर रहे हैं? तो customers tend to expect the services and whatever they get is perceived services, right? Expectations कहाँ से बनी? Expectation कहाँ से बनी? Word of mouth, personal needs, past experience. So your expectations are built from what others experienced, what did you hear from others, what do you want and what was your past experience, maybe in some other place, maybe with some other service provider. From that you make up some expectations कि ऐसी services मुझे मिलेगी. फिर actual में क्या मिली? That is your perceived service, right? Now that tells you if your expectations exceeded perceived quality, right? If your expectations exceeded the perceived quality, then the customer is happy, right? If the expectations just met the perceived quality, then it is just satisfied. And if the expectations are not met, then the customers are dissatisfied. So I hope this overall is clear, right? Overall, how do you measure service quality? The dimensions of service qualities are clear. Now you can see ये तो हमने quality सिर्फ measure की. अब expectation और perception के बीच में gap है. Either expectations exceed होगी या expectations will not be meeting the perceived quality. In both cases there is a gap, positive or negative gap. So now our next topic would be to find out those gaps. How do we find out those gaps? For that we'll continue in the next session. So today we are keeping it till here, that is service quality, its dimensions. In the next class we'll see how these gaps are identified and how we can overcome those gaps. All right then, thank you so much.